Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
Yo, everybody, it's Heat Override. So let's get to it. Bring the pain!
What's up, everybody? It's Heat Override, and I'm ready to bring the pain for you and Dr. Roto this week. Ooh, yeah. If you haven't been over to the site, get to the site at drroto.com. Use the code word DOC, get a percentage off of your subscription, and start winning money today. Man, I had a crazy week. Next week, I do want to warn you that I will be at a tournament so that there may be no subs-only Discord bets or DFS lineups. I'll try to get those in the day prior, Friday, and then I might be MMA until the actual fights start. And then on my way back or when I make it back to Erie, then, of course, I will be in there doing my thing. But until then, you got this. So let's get to it. Let's bring the pain to the competition. Ooh, yeah. Man, we had a great one. We had FanDuel waiting till the last possible moment to put out a DFS slate. Then we had some great bets. Lines were moving. Everything was all over the place. So let's just run through the card real quick. I picked Jocelyn Edwards for the win. I picked Amorim, got the win. Wellmaker, got the win. Blackshear, got the win. Evan Elder, got the win. Schnell, got the win. Alex Arov, got the win. Brown, got the win. Owen Pereira, got the loss. David Onama, win. Ming Yang, win. Carlos Prates, loss. Roberto Romero, loss. And John Castaneda, loss. That's how I did. Overall, I was 10-4 for my picks. Of course, these picks are exclusive to only my team in the Fight Club of Pain. They only get to see my picks. The closest you get to them is the Five-tastic picks that are at drroto.com. So that's why you have to be part of the member. You got to be a member. You got to join people. Can't get everything for free, but you get the Fight Club of Pain for free. And Dan and I was on fire, especially Dan. Dan destroyed the slate from his sense. He broke it down. Although he called me crazy for saying that Nicholas Dalby was not going to get knocked out, and he's never been finished. And he was like, his exact words like, yeah, Rob, he's never been finished. And I'm like, no, he's going to do it. And he did it. But that's the crazy stuff we come up with down the Fight Club of Pain. And that's why I love Dan. But he went 5-0. So congratulations, Dan. You were definitely perfect for the fights that you picked this week. Man, I can't say. He's just the better half of me. He dives into the fights deep. I bring the numbers. And together, that's what we make. We make that perfect sauce for all of you, right? Who's serving? You know who's serving. Bring the pain is serving. Yeah. You didn't see that coming, did you? Yeah. All right. So, that being said, 10-4. Now, my Five-tastic picks, of course, I had down for was Zhang, Elder, Amorim, Blackshear, and Prates. Those are the ones I covered. DFS a lot. Submissions, points, things like that. Prates is the one that lost. 4-1. So that moves me to 35-9 for the year since I started this. This has only been going for 2.5 months with a week off. I think that's really solid. That is the product. Again, I say this over and over. Being transparent, making sure that I'm saying I'm giving you enough information as possible, but I'm also being as blunt as possible so that all of you know what to do, which bets to get, and which lineups to make. Because I found an exploit easily when FanDuel put out their DFS slate. It was Wellmaker. Wellmaker was owned. He was around 30% owned. But the thing is that's 30% owned for a UFC card, even with 14 fights, is like being around 20% owned in the NFL, or around like 18 to 20% owned for DFS, MLB, baseball, right? So, because you get really, 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 really into strange territory around the 19-14 marks. If you can get a fighter at 8, 9, 10%, I mean, you're doing it right. And that's what I wanted to bring up, because right now I'll actually go to. So practically the pay line was around $500 for double ups on FanDuel. DraftKings was around, I think it was around like 487 or something like that. Scoring was down a little bit for some of the fights, but a lot of the other fights were killer. Like Zhang Mingyang as your captain got you 206 points. Of course, well, Zhang was owned only in 40%, so a lot of people were turned off from him. Of course, this is just this one thing around. Wellmaker was 42 in this one. But, like, you get Castaneda around 20%, got you 30 points. Romero around 18%. And Evan Elder at 23% was perfect because he got the decision. He got everything he needed, but he was lower owned. And that's what we were looking for. That 23, we can get around the 20% in a UFC contest, and we're doing good, people. So, on the Fight Club of Pain, of course, Dan went 5-0. I went 3-2. Dan got me. He just did it, man. He was just, I took some shots. Of course, going 10-4 overall, the shots that I did take didn't pay off for me. So there's my 4 losses. And that's 2 of them. But at the same time, even Dan, we did it live on air last week. Well, when we constructed that DFS lineup after we gave out our bold picks at the end of the show or throughout the show, because you know how we break things down, how we go into each little detail, each little fight, looking at the money line, seeing where the submissions are going, looking at where the money's going, and that's also helping us hit a lot of these bets. Again, the Subs Only Discord is all but proof. Yesterday was just a day where I was hitting a lot, and I was actually I made it into the Subs Only Discord, kept putting him in there and showing everybody that if you do stay on the train, then we're going to choo-choo right through town and make that money. Yeah. Woo! Right. So, that being said, we got that. My MLB Heat-tastic picks of the day for Saturday. It could have been better. They could have been better. I had a guy, I didn't get in his start. A couple of the games didn't go the way I thought they would go. I really thought Milwaukee would really cakewalk yesterday. But instead, today, I went back with Milwaukee, and they did well today. I had all my wild props hits. I had Matt McLean, though, unfortunately, sat. But I had the rest of my lineups also hitting 2. So I hit a lot of those bets. The parlay missed just because it got shut down. You're losing the one guy. It was Judge. Judge shot down. I had Judge. I kind of went with all RBIs. And the Yankees did great, but Judge didn't get an RBI. So therefore, because Judge didn't get an RBI and everybody else did that, I said, that pretty helped me. But that did help me in DFS-wise. I stacked the Yankees and Milwaukee. So that was a really nice stack I was able to get, and lower owned. I got all the Milwaukee Brewers really lower owned. So again, that was a really good thing. And that just shows how the weekend goes, how the week went. And that is what we're trying to provide at Dr. Roto, and what I'm trying to provide with Dan for you at the Club of Pain, showing that we can put out a product like our UFC product and hang with some of the big teams that have been out here doing this for 5 years. Now, they've watched all these fights. They've learned. They've had dinners, had drinks with these fighters. Right? I haven't. I watch them now. And in the past, some of the big names. So, when I see Justin Gaethje, I know him, but I didn't know Rafael Fiziev. So I had to go watch Rafael. And that's the same thing as going on with all these fights. It's almost impossible to look at, when you have a 14-fight card, to look at 10 other fighters or even 20 other fighters, honestly, and to map everybody out. But what's been really happening is Dan's been coming together, we've been going over our notes. We explain, we talk throughout the week, me and the other members of the Fight Club of Pain. We also talk at the dojo about who's going to win, who's going to lose, and just kind of fighter style. But it all comes back to the construction of the DFS lineups, the bets, what we're doing on the show. I watch some of the shows. I'm not going to lie. I always have to, because I'm being the new sheriffs in town. I wanted to take my product and look at what other people are putting out there. And it's all about the same. It just, some people like this guy, some people like this style a little more. So a lot of people would have been the shoebox assassins instead of the fighting nerds. And, it sucks that Prates got that loss. But, man, he almost got him at the end. It was crazy because the overall pay-per-view, at the beginning of the pay-per-view, they were stopping fights way too fast, it felt like. But, hey, that was fine. Some of those people were knocked bad. But then by the end of the pay-per-view, they were just letting it go out. But, man, whatever went down with Zhang and Anthony Smith, why Anthony Smith was pissed as hell after that, screaming at whoever, Dana White, the ref should have stopped that fight a long time ago. Anthony Smith practically gave himself up, was on all fours in the middle of the thing, and Zhang was just like, what do I do? He's giving up. So Zhang wasn't even attacking him, and then the refs like attack him. So he attacks him. He gets off of him again because he knows that Anthony Smith is not defending himself. He took too many elbows. Once Zhang started flipping up those elbows, man, I was cringing. I was like, right? And he kept hitting him with it. Man, at the end of it, I was like, it's over. It's over, right? And then I started screaming, it's over. And even, my buddy Joe, who's sitting here watching the fights, he's like, it's over. And then, next thing you know, my wife knows what's going on, that this dude's just getting beat on. Why aren't they stopping the fight? I'm like, I don't know. Hopefully, dude goes back to school because that fight should have been stepped off. I mean, it was Anthony Smith's 60th fight. He's taken enough brain damage, enough beats in his life, enough wins in his life. He doesn't need a young dude like Zhang cracking elbows on him and making him bleed the way he was. It just, to me, it was a little, they should have went a little faster, but I guess that did open up because at the end, if they would have jumped in, then Prates would have won when he was ground and pounding on Garry, because Garry I respect what Garry did. And I said that he's a jack of all trades. Will it be the right game plan that he comes into this? Fighter IQ is amazing. Yes, it was. He came in here. Prates looked a little slow, but looked like he was counterpunching at the beginning of the fights. Looked like he could have shoot a little more. I guess maybe his game plan was to see what he could do, go with the striking, because he didn't think that Garry was going to go to the ground with him, which he didn't. And then it kind of like leaned towards it. And I want to say, too, there was a few fights that almost ended where one of the fighters threw a kick or something and they slipped and they fell. So it was like that mat was slick. But regardless, when Prates got him at the end and you got Garry crawling away from him and he's trying to grab his shorts, why not just jump on him and choke him out, buddy? Like, what's going on? Drop on him. Like, I don't know what's going on. Pick him up. Do a back suplex. I don't know. Prates look great, though. I think both fighters left that pay-per-view strong. So you're definitely going to see them meet again one day. But for right now, that's what we got. Again, another great week for my article. I hope that you're following me at Heat Override on the X and Bring the Pain on Facebook. Got a whole page, got VGM podcast there. And make sure now that the NFL draft is done, you're about to get an onslaught of content from everybody at Dr. Roto, including myself, and of course, podcasts. We got UFC, we got baseball, we got football happening right now. I can't think of a better time, man. This is great. Have a great day, everybody, and always remember to bring the pain. Ooh, yeah.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. Until the next visit,